So, Namaskaram everyone. Good evening. So, let us start our lecture. Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukat Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. So, I welcome all of you this evening for a wonderful talk on resilient mind, resilient future. So before we begin, let me give a brief introduction of Vivekananda Samiti, IIT Kanpur, and then our today's speaker, Dr. Usha Vasthare, ma'am. So coming to Vivekananda Samiti is one of the oldest club under students Gymkhana here in IIT Kanpur. It was established in 1967, and since then it is functioning to spread the teachings and ideas of Swami Vivekananda, and thus motivating the youth towards the path of human excellence. Vivekananda Samiti continues to engage faculty members, students, and other members of IITK community in dispensing the message of Swami Vivekananda and in encouraging various kinds of intellectual and inspirational discussions, weekly meditation classes, and Gita classes. In addition to that, we have also been able to conduct several community service activities, including health camps, eye camps, and various other health activities in surrounding villages and neighborhoods of IIT Kanpur. Apart from the above mentioned activities, we regularly organize lectures and workshops, which motivates youth for their personal development and also in nation building. So now let me give a brief introduction of Dr. Usha Vasthare, ma'am. So ma'am has a very huge points to say, but I will give a short brief. So Dr. Usha Vasthare is a neuroscientist, teacher, writer, and social worker. She co-founded YogaKshema Rehabilitation and Wellness Center in Bangalore in 2007. She was a resident of USA for 3 decades, where she has been a faculty of Temple University School of Medicine for 17 years, and post that she took up the role of clinical research project coordinator at Center for Parkinson's Disease and Movement Disorders, Pennsylvania Hospital, which honored her with Service Excellence Award. She has published over 70 research papers and abstracts in reputed journals and contributed to 5 books used for continuing medical education course. Dr. Usha Vasthare conducts support group meetings for various sections of society, ranging from homemakers, professionals to survivors of chronic illness and their caregivers, and many others. So far, she has facilitated 400 such meetings at YogaKshema and conducted several workshops on mind training, overcoming automatic negative thoughts, depression, and management of stress. Her workshops are based on the most recent advances in neuroscience research and are geared to participants in improving their quality of life. Her interest is to bring science and spirituality together for holistic living. Her programs have been telecasted in leading television networks like Udaya, Chandana, Z Kannada, as well as in radio and newspapers such as Vijaya Karnataka and Udayavani, etc. She has also been featured in radio talk shows in US and South Africa and conducted several workshops in those countries. So, without any further delay, I would hand over to you, Usha ma'am, to share your ideas on this topic, resilient mind, resilient future. So, I request all of you to please keep your mics off throughout the session, and I will allow in the end if you have any question to ask. So,
Okay. Thank you,
ma'am, it's to
Venkat.
you.
Good evening. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Venkat. And good evening to everybody. It's a great pleasure to be sharing some of the recent advances in neuroscience research, especially with the future leaders here. This a recent Economic Forum report. It's truly mind-boggling. The report says about 65% of pre-teenagers will be working in jobs that don't even exist yet. When they grow up, they will be working in jobs that don't even exist yet. Such mind-boggling report. And you all, the future leaders, you will be creating technologies that don't even exist yet. And you will be creating technologies that these pre-teenagers will be using. And you will be solving their problems that we don't even know that it is their problems yet. So you, the future leaders, are you prepared for such unknown circumstances? Are you ready for the future, and are you ready for such unknown circumstances? In modern lingo, what they say is, are you future ready? The only way we know we can be future ready is to be lifelong learners. There is no other way one can be ready for such unknown factors in life except to be lifelong learners. So, are you future ready? And what is the future? Is the future post-pandemic times, or your future is once you graduate from IIT to take up that first job, or your future is few years down the road when you start up the very first startup company, or your future is 20, 30 years down the road where you're going to be mentoring and leading the pre-teenagers that are here now. What is the future? Future is not years down the road, but future is now. Yes, it is a bold statement. I'm going to try and see what do I mean by this? Future is now, both from a scientific perspective and also from a spiritual perspective, and especially that of Swami Vivekananda's teachings. Whenever you say future is now, the famous quote by Swami Vivekananda comes to mind, wherein he says, if what we are now has been the result of our past actions, it certainly follows that whatever we wish to be in the future is based on our present actions. So we need to take care of the present. We need to take care of this moment, the present moment. And that future is now. This present moment is what is going to reflect our future. So the future is now, not tomorrow, not next year, not decades from now, but future is now. So let us look at this statement, future is now, from two different angles, and then understand how can we implement this to be architects of our own lives, which starts from now, this moment. So I'm going to look at this from two different angles, one that of resilience, to understand what is resilience, what is not resilience, and what prevents us to be resilient. And the other angle is that of mindset. So let's take up what mindset is. And this is Dr. Carol Dweck. She was a professor in California, and she made her career researching on mindset, especially that of young kids. And what kind of mindset do we need to have? What kind of mindset is needed to change ourselves? What kind of mindset is needed to transform ourselves? What kind of mindset is needed to be successful? What kind of mindset is needed to be future ready? So first, let us take a look at what mindset is and then go into the two types of mindset that Dr. Carol Dweck has researched upon. A mindset is nothing but a set of beliefs, belief system, a set of beliefs that will help us to handle the external situations. It is a set of beliefs that helps us to view the world in a particular way and also to navigate in the world. And the mindset really helps us to spot opportunities where there are. And not only that, it also traps us in the self-defeating vicious circle. So let us look at certain of the beliefs that distinguish people who are successful as opposed to somebody who constantly and continually struggle. So the fixed mindset people, or people with fixed mindset, believe that one is born with certain amount of intelligence or certain talent, and nothing can change that intelligence or talent. And they believe talent alone creates success. And people with fixed mindset have a compulsion to appear smart, not to be smart, not to be intelligent, but to appear intelligent, to appear smart in many situations. And they worry about asking questions because they are worried that they could be viewed as somebody who is unintelligent and dumb. And people with fixed mindset constantly worry about their own traits, whether they are adequate or not. And if things don't go the way they want it to be, and if the things don't go right, they quickly blame others, they blame the circumstances, they blame the situation, they blame the environment, blaming the pandemic that we are all going through. However, people with growth mindset, they know intelligence is important, talent is there, but it is just the starting point. And they believe most of that talent and intelligence can be developed through effort, through hard work, and through a lot of dedication. And for people with growth mindset, challenges become a learning opportunity. And they're continuous learners. So as to say in Zen Buddhism, they say they have what is called as a beginner's mind. Shoshin is what they say in Zen terminology. And people with growth mindset, they also have a very strong sense of accountability. So people with growth mindset, they don't believe anybody can be an Einstein or a Vivekananda or a Satya Nadella. But what they believe is there is so much potential within each and every one of us, and that innate potential that we have is unknown, and it cannot be realized without lifelong learning, with lot of conscious, effortful, hard work, and with lot of dedication and grit. So if that is the case, how does people, or how does this growth mindset help for such people? You know, having a growth mindset makes us to evolve. And the criticisms don't worry us, or they are taken as opportunities to reflect and change and to become better. and they embrace mistakes as learning opportunities, and they are very comfortable working through discomfort, and they continue to expand their boundaries. In other words, very simply, they embrace lifelong learning. This is where quote from Vivekananda comes to mind, wherein he says, expansion is life and contraction is death. The terminologies are different. He's saying in different ways. And now in modern days with scientific terminologies, this is what we talk about, having growth mindset, to be expanding throughout our lives. And we know there are certain habits for such people with growth mindset, for people with success mindset, for people with evolving mindset. Let us take a look at what those habits are. People with such type of mindset, they have a heightened self-awareness. And as I said earlier, they're lifelong learners. Not only they're lifelong learners, they learn from others. And not only they learn from others, they teach others. And they focus on progress, and they focus on the process and not on perfection. Extremely important aspect and extremely important habit for all of us to develop, to be focusing on the process and progress and not on perfection. Let's take a look at each of these habits a little bit deeper and see where it takes us. Self-awareness. As Vivekananda said, everything that is excellent will come when this sleeping soul is aroused to self-conscious activity. The key term here is that self-conscious activity. In my opinion, the self-conscious activity is nothing but what we now call that as self-awareness. The self-awareness is the most important quality of a human being. And in fact, this is the quality that differentiates us humans from the rest of the animal kingdom. And to develop this self-awareness, we need to really know what is it that we are telling ourselves? What story are we telling ourselves? Because depending on the story that we tell ourselves, the stories can either make us or break us. Can we create new stories from today that can liberate us from our past defeating narratives, from our preconceived biases and notions, and from our rigid thinking patterns? And can we make room for new narratives that will suit our future? And what is our go-to story that will shape our experiences in the present moment, that will help build the future that we want? So we really need to watch out for ourselves. What is the story we are telling ourselves? And when we have this heightened self-awareness, we know our abilities to learn or our inabilities to learn certain things. In other words, we know our own weaknesses and strengths. Usually it is somebody else who tells us, either it could be our parent, it could be our professors, it could be our peer group, our friends who would know our strengths and weaknesses. Instead of that, when we have this heightened self-awareness, we will know our strengths and weaknesses so that we can work to build up our strength and to overcome our weaknesses. And this is what in our scriptures talk about, saying that the teacher is already inside you. That inner voice that we all have is nothing but our teacher. And that is what it is in our scriptures. It is called Arive Guru. Arivu is nothing but awareness. This self-awareness is our own teacher. And we need to train our mind to develop this awareness more and more and more. So next is about lifelong learning. Let us just think about certain moments in life. It's just a thought experiment. Either it is in your life or in somebody else's life that you know. When you studied so much to get into IITs, or how you're preparing for your very first job, or the achievements you had earlier, be it may in sports or in arts or in any field for that matter. What are these moments of life that make us swell with pride? You know, those moments of life that make us swell with pride, they don't come easy. What I mean by that is our growth, our improvement, our real success happens outside of our comfort zone. So for us to be lifelong learners, we need to come out of our comfort zone, and we need to be curious, and we need to have an explore, an attitude of exploring, and more than anything to have that love for learning. And when we have to be lifelong learners, we better have love for learning. Otherwise, it's really going to be hard to sustain this lifelong learning. So when I said the moments that make us swell with pride don't come easy, that means we were in that discomfort area. We have all done this. We have pushed ourselves to the limit and beyond, especially when it comes to the physical level, at the gross level. We have pushed ourselves to run that extra mile, to go few more steps to go to that peak of the mountain when we are hiking. We have pushed ourselves physically. Can we push ourselves, be in that discomfort zone deliberately, consciously, putting a lot of effort, of course, not just in the physical aspect, but also emotionally, also with respect to interpersonal relationships? Can we be in that little bit discomfort zone and improve that interpersonal relationship we have with that difficult person in our lives? Something to think about. It's just an open-ended thing I'm just going to touch upon for this audience so that you can reflect a lot of this later, rather than giving you a checklist about what to do, how to do. That's easy to get. You can get it anything on any of this on the internet. My role here today is to make you think and go to the why, rather than just handing over the how and what of all these concepts. This deliberate discomfort is the way to evolve, and the quickest way to evolve. Can we from today deliberately, consciously, and effortfully come out of that discomfort, come out of that comfort zone to be really successful, not just in our careers, but as importantly as our careers, with our interpersonal relationships. So the next habit is learning from others. This is a no-brainer. We know how learning from others, working with others is so important. And learning from others is what helps us in the teamwork. And especially cooperating and collaborating with others, how important it is to learn from others. I mean, a little bit deeper into cooperation and collaboration, little bit more going into deeper into some neuroscience concepts at the end of the talk. Apart from that, genuinely start appreciating, acknowledging first, and after acknowledging, appreciating the strengths of others. This is what we call in Sanskrit as mudita. Until and unless we genuinely appreciate the strength of others, as adults, it's going to be extremely hard to learn from others. And if we appreciate and genuinely appreciate and acknowledge somebody else's victory, success, and others' success, then learning from others becomes really easy. And just try to practice asking for feedback from the peers and also from the superiors. It helps. The next habit is about teaching others. You know, when we share, when we teach others, this is where our knowledge gets solidified. And not only do we share our insights, we will know what we know. And we will also know what we do not know. It's extremely important to teach others. But teaching is the ultimate sharing. If you come to think about it, teaching is ultimate sharing, because sharing comes from inner strength. Only a strong person will be able to share fully and completely. And when we share, when we teach others, there is so much satisfaction and joy and fulfillment happens when we teach others. And the last habit I'm going to talk about is focusing on the process and not on perfection. Because mastering anything takes time. It does take time. There are no shortcuts in mastering something. So acknowledge the progress that you're making. And if you have not succeeded yet, say to yourself that you're not there yet, not yet, because not yet is a very important phrase that is being used by people with growth mindset. In fact, that phrase was coined by Carol Dweck while teaching with those young kids. So when we are not there yet, don't think of that as a failure or the end all, because failure is a part of the process. Failure does not prevent us to succeed, but failure is a part of the process, is part of the progress also. So when we start focusing on the process, focusing on the progress, then we can start enjoying, as I said earlier, to enjoy the learning process. Anything that we do for that matter is extremely important, especially when we have to be lifelong learners. We need to enjoy that process, learning process. That is where the journey itself becomes the destination, and the path becomes the goal. This is where again the Upanishad statement that Vivekananda quotes is one of his quotes, which is so very popular. The Upanishad quote is Uttishtata Jagrata Prapya Varani Bodhata. Stop not until the goal is reached. Again, as I said, the terminologies are different. This is what this Upanishad statement, this statement by Vivekananda in modern times means failure is a part of success. This is how I would interpret this statement. Make failure as a part of your success path. So with that mindset, we covered the mindset, fixed mindset and growth mindset. And let us go into resilience. What does resilience mean? But before that, let's look into what is not resilience. Resilience does not mean a person won't experience difficulties in his or her life. It does not necessarily mean it is a personality trait that only some people have this trait of being resilient and not others. It's not only that few people possess this quality or a trait. It is definitely not about toughing it out or reacting to every setback with a smile and a happy face. Absolutely not. It is not even a state of being. To be resilient is not to go back to being the way one was before. Then, what is it? What is resilience? If you ask an average person what it means to be resilient, you will get this kind of an answer. Oh, it is bouncing back from the challenges. And we want our economy to bounce back, and we want to get back to our jobs, to our schools, and we want to get back to our routines. This is what you hear from an average person. But now, with the recent field in neuroscience, which is positive psychology, we know we have a very different definition of resilience. This isn't resilience. This is what we hear all the time, except this is not resilience. Then what is it? What is resilience? Resilience is a set of skills honed through adversity to become stronger than before. Remember that we need to come out of that comfort zone. Some people call that little bit of discomfort. Some people will call that as a challenge or an adversity, whatever it may be. Until and unless we are faced with discomfort, until and unless we are faced with adversity, it is really going to be hard to build up resilience. This is what the new research is showing. So resilience involves actions, our behaviors, our thoughts, our emotions, our feelings, our set of belief system, and our perception towards things. That these things, actions, behaviors, perceptions, our feelings and emotions, we can develop and train our mind to help build resilience. Anybody can do that. And resilience is about transforming, not going back to the old ways, but going into a new normal, which was better than before. So, simply put, resilience refers to positive adaptation to adversity. So, what is this so distinct about this pandemic? And what type of resilience do we need to build up to overcome this pandemic, especially this pandemic? And I'm just going to quickly go through the types of resilience and then tell you what is it that I'm going to be focusing on today. There are many different types of resilience, different types of classifying the resilience too. In this type of classification, we have individual resilience, family resilience, community resilience, organizational resilience, societal resilience, national resilience, to go further. And in this pandemic, we need to build up resilience in each and every level that we have come across here. Starting with individual resilience. Just having individual resilience is not enough. We need to build it up to have resilience amongst the family members. And just that is not going to be enough. In a community where you live in the organization where you work, in the nation that you live in, so it can go deeper and deeper. Another way of classifying resilience is psychological resilience, emotional resilience, physical resilience, and spiritual resilience. So amongst these two types of classifications, I'm going to be focusing mostly on the individual resilience and spiritual resilience. Before we go into what is individual resilience and spiritual, what helps with spiritual resilience, let us try and understand what prevents us to be truly resilient. Because if we can understand what is preventing us, saying, as I was saying, I apologize for the mishap, and then here we go. What is it that prevents us to be resilient? It is these ants that you see. And of course, you're seeing real ants here, but this is an acronym, ants, which are nothing but automatic negative thoughts. And these automatic negative thoughts are what prevents us. Unlike what you see in the picture, our negative thoughts are varied. They could be very similar to red ants, black ants, termites, or fire ants that you see in nature. And why does this, do these ants prevent us to be resilient? Let us look into that. And how do we get these ants? These ants happen spontaneously, automatically, because each and every one of us, without any exception, all of us have what we call it as negativity bias within all of us. This has evolutionary biological significance, which we are not going to get into right now. But this negativity bias or these automatic negative thoughts, what prevents us to be resilient, what prevents us to be truly evolving also. So because of this negativity bias, there is so much accumulation of these automatic and spontaneous negative thoughts, so much so these negative thoughts stick to our mind like Velcro. And even though there are many positive thoughts also, those positive thoughts get washed off, just like that non-stick material on the non-stick pan that we use in the kitchen, the Teflon material. This is so frustrating for us sometimes, even if we know this is happening, or others say this is happening, we don't know how to come out of it. So we're going to spend the next few minutes on this negativity bias, or the automatic negative thoughts, and see how to overcome these negative thoughts. These automatic negative thoughts, when they go unnoticed and when they go unchecked, we actually go back and forth like a pendulum between past and future. Past we look at with regret, and future is filled with anxiety and pessimism. And whatever is happening in the present moment is never satisfactory. So much so, these ants, from now on, I'm going to refer to the automatic negative thoughts as ants. These ants don't help us to be in the present moment. In other words, these ants prevent us to be in the present moment, here and now, now and here. However, we say, if we need to be the architects of our lives, if we need to build the future the way we want, and that future happens now, this moment, here and now, now and here. However, these ants are not allowing us to be in the present moment. And if it allows us to be in the present moment, it is either unsatisfactory, or even the present moment is filled with anxiety and pessimism, thinking about the future or regretting the past. Now you see how it is all intertwined. Until and unless we tackle these automatic negative thoughts, until and unless we tackle this negativity bias that is innate in each and every one of us, we won't be the architects of our own lives. And to go a little bit deeper into this, these automatic negative thoughts, again, when they go unnoticed and unchecked, they affect our learning, they affect our work, they affect our interpersonal relationships, they affect our health, and they affect our entire life. So when we have these unchecked, unnoticed ants, what do we say for ourselves? These are some of the things. These start off as reasons why we cannot do something, why we are the way we are, saying to ourselves, oh, this is beyond my capacity, it's way too hard for me to handle. Let me just say yes to the professor right now, and I will think about it later. Something of this sort. These are the reasons. We think these are the reasons. These are the self-defeating reasons that we give ourselves. And they actually are nothing but excuses. And when we have these ants, automatic negative thoughts, unchecked and unnoticed, and we say, give these excuses, and I've just listed a few of them, saying, oh, this is the way I am. I'm born like this. I can't help it. I wasn't like this before. It's only because of the pandemic I'm like this. Oh, because of my parents, because of my professor, because of the boss whom I work with, I have become so negative like this. We have umpteen reasons to talk about, saying that why we cannot do something, why we are the way we are. We have umpteen reasons to give. So what are the consequences of these ants? Because of this, we get into polarized thinking. We look at things either right or wrong, good or evil, black and white thinking. So we only see two choices, and we cannot see many choices at all, even though they exist. And for everything what does not work, we blame it on the circumstances or on others, or we keep defending ourselves. This blaming and defending thoughts, negative thoughts, are very similar to the termite population that you see in nature. We need to recognize this and get rid of it right away. All of this results in cognitive inflexibility. This is nothing but illogically logical way of thinking. And continuing with the consequences, because of these unchecked, unnoticed ants, we cannot be proactive. And we shun away from responsibilities, and more importantly, we cannot learn new things. And this is exactly what prevents us to be lifelong learners. Because of all of this, we cannot change easily. So our resilience goes down, and without our knowledge, we get into a fixed mindset of attitude. And not only that, somewhere we cannot be as empathetic as we would like to be. And we are not happy as we want to be. All of this leads to frustration. And everybody else will know about our nature, why you're being so negative. You've been looking for getting into this esteemed institution. Once you have gotten into this, why have you become negative? Your friends or parents or siblings might say, they might recognize the negativity in us, but we won't be able to, because the self-awareness decreases. And what is important to remember is there is no colored pill that comes in a colored bottle that we can take it in and get rid of the negativity. The only way we can overcome this negativity bias or these automatic negative thoughts is by increasing our self-awareness. How do we increase the self-awareness? Just there is saving grace in everything, even in nature. Most of the ants we get, most of the automatic, spontaneous negative thoughts we get are false. As long as we can recognize our own negative thoughts, we are able to come out of it. Say to ourselves, it's just a thought, it's a negative thought, and question that thought. Most likely you will get an answer that I don't know, rather than yes, this is what it is, or no, this isn't. We will get an answer for ourselves, I don't know. Hold on to that. And from there, change those negative thoughts, either to neutral thoughts or to positive thoughts. So this few minutes of spending on this negativity bias is so important, because this is what truly prevents us to be resilient. So having done that, now let us go into again resilience, individual resilience. What does that mean? How do we build up this individual resistance? The first and foremost thing is to have a growth mindset. And I'm just going to touch upon this because this is really easy to build the resilience. And then if there are questions, I will take it up further during the Q&A session. All we need to do is to eat well, sleep properly, and move about, doing a lot of physical activity. As long as we are having nutritious food, and if our sleep hygiene is good enough, and if we have enough physical activity for ourselves, this is a quickest way to build both physical resilience and in turn the emotional or psychological resilience too. And just How to all of that we can go later. That is the easy part. Now let us move on to the spiritual resilience. And how do we bring the science, the neuroscience, and the spirituality together into this spiritual resilience? The way to build spiritual resilience, I've put in 4 factors, are really, really crucial in building up spiritual resilience. One is having faith in oneself, manifesting goodness in oneself and in others, and understand the deeper meaning of interconnectedness of all beings and non-living things too, and understand the importance of interdependence based on the concept of interconnectedness. Let's go into each one of these really quickly, and then we will get an idea. Having faith in oneself. First thing that comes to my mind is Swamiji's quote, wherein he says, the history of the world is the history of only few men who had faith in themselves. However, as soon as a man or a nation loses faith, that is the starting point of failure or death comes, he says. And have faith in yourself, because all the power that you need is already inside you, and you need to bring it out in a conscious manner. And he goes further to say, if you cannot believe in yourself, you cannot believe in God. Or in other words, the modern definition of an atheist is not a person who does not believe in God, but an atheist is one who does not believe in oneself. So the way to go is to believe in oneself, and just believing in oneself at the thought level or the feeling level is not going to be enough, but belief in action. Just these 3 words say it all. It is nothing but Shraddha in Sanskrit. Belief in action, nothing but Shraddha, which is the definition that one of the senior monks of Ramakrishna order has given that. So the next factor in developing spiritual resistance, as I said, is manifesting goodness in oneself and in others. Again, this Swami Vivekananda has put it very succinctly. He says, just be good and do good. Be good by bringing a positive change in your life first. First, be good to yourself so that you can bring a positive change in your life, and then do good. Just being good is not going to be enough, and doing good to others, doing good to the society is equally, if not more important. So, how do we manifest this goodness in others? By being good and doing good. This is that neuroscience concept. We say just having good thoughts and good feelings is not going to be enough. Those good, positive thoughts and feelings have to be followed by good actions and positive actions. This is what we call it as belief in action. We're going to spend just 2 more minutes little later and go into the true neuroscience behind this. What do I mean by this belief in action? Why that belief in action is so important. But before that, let's touch upon interconnectedness and interdependence before going into the neuroscience concept. Interconnectedness, it's a no-brainer, both interconnectedness and interdependence. So I'm just going to quote a few of these, either from a scientist, both from the scientists, and the Sanskrit term for the interconnectedness is nothing but the paraspara samanvitaha. John Muir was a naturalist, ecologist. He was the one who's called the father of national parks in USA. He was the one who revived and then made, I think it's sequoia and the redwood forest as national park. He says, when one tugs at a single thing in nature, just any one thing in nature, he finds it attached to the rest of the world. Very, very deep quote. Again, we're all familiar with Fridge of Capra, physicist, again an ecologist, and an author of several books, Tao of Physics, Deep Connections, to name a few. He says, the more complex the network is, the more complex its pattern of interconnections, and the more resilient the network will be. Just saying this, we will be able to understand the interconnectedness, not just amongst beings like human beings, interconnectedness of human beings with the animal kingdom. Just that is not enough. Interconnectedness of human beings, animal kingdom, and nature. And again, just that is not enough. Interconnectedness, humans, animals, environment, and also non-living things are also equally important. Let's keep this in mind to understand interdependence at a deeper level. And this, I'm trying to develop this interdependence concept intertwined with interconnectedness. And I'd like to present this in three different ways, the importance of interdependence. We all know, or if you don't know, many a times we would think being independent is of a higher nature. However, it has been showed beyond doubt that interdependence is of a higher value than independence. What does that mean? In the very first way of looking at it, we know there are many people who are not as fortunate as we are, people who may be less fortunate, people who have missed out opportunities, those who are underprivileged or underprivileged and with social and economic dependency on others. So when we work with such people, and day in and day out, we do work with people who are underprivileged and who have missed out opportunities. So that is the reason they are not where they are, like they would like to be. So when we are working with such people, rather than working with the provider's mentality, can we have a deeper connection with them and understand the interdependence of all of us, because their health, their happiness, their well-being is also dependent on our well-being, our happiness. And I'm not just talking at an individual level, as a community, as a society, as a nation. So when we look at it from this perspective, then can we work with such, either at the national level, at the community level, or at an individual level, people with missed out opportunities or nations which are underprivileged? Can we work with under such situations with an attitude of service? We can go much deeper with especially what Vivekananda says based on Ramakrishna's sayings of Shiva Jnane Jiva Seve or Atmano Mokshartam Jagat cha. But I'm just going to mention this and not go deeper into that. We can take it up later if anybody is interested in the Q&A session. But that is the first way of looking at interdependence with a deeper understanding of interconnectedness. The next level is only somebody who is truly independent can enjoy that interdependence and make that choice of interdependence. And then it is empowering for that individual. So it is at the level of empowerment. And the third level is, this is the true level, wherein people who are independent come together for greater good, to work for a common cause, so that they combine their strengths and they combine the efforts of others and the strengths of others, and the weaknesses of some people will be worked upon with the strength of others. And this is what true interdependence is all about. And this is an ideal situation wherein teams work together for greater good and to achieve real success in life. So we touched upon various factors of spiritual resilience, having faith in oneself and to be good and to do good, and both understanding at a much deeper level of interconnectedness and interdependence. But what does this all mean? What does this all mean from a scientific perspective? So we understand the connection between our body and mind. If something happens to our body, our mind gets, our emotions and feelings get affected. Or we might be physically fit, but if if something happens at an emotional level, then we can see certain things happening at the level of the physical body too. That's a no-brainer. We understand that connection between body and brain, or body and mind. But what is important to understand is our actions, our habits, our behavior is also intertwined with our body and mind. So much so, the quality of our life is dependent on the quality of experience. And the quality of experience is dependent on the quality of our mind. And how can we improve the quality of our mind? By having the growth mindset or the success mindset or the evolving mindset, and to be resilient. So our quality of mind is so important, and that should be the primary factor to improve our quality of life. So again, what does this all mean? So now I'm going to just in a very few minutes give you some evidence-based neuroscience research. How do we put it all together? And now the next few slides, it's all going to come together right now. What does the evidence-based neuroscience research says? What do we do when we need to change our lives? The first and foremost is we go, if we have to think like Westerners, we go change our wardrobe, we change our hairstyle, or we change our eye color too, many times, to change our lives. Externally, superficially, I'm not saying it does not work, just that is not enough. And maybe later on we go to change our car, or even to change homes, or to change our jobs, to change our life. And even that we know it is only temporary change. However, to have long lasting changes in our lives, we need to figure out the meaning and purpose of our life to be able to make long lasting changes in our life. How does that happen? The recent advances in neuroscience research tells us to change our life, we need to change our brain itself. Yes, changing something I can understand, any other organ, but changing the brain? How so? Yes, it is so, because again, the recent advances says, if you change your mind, not in a flippant manner, we really know how to change our minds flippantly like that, not in that way, but if we change our mind in a deliberate manner, in conscious manner, in an effortful manner, in a willful manner, if we change our minds, we can actually change the very structure of the brain. We can actually we can change the very function of the brain. So what is mind? Mind is nothing but our thoughts, our emotions, our feelings, our perception, our memories, our belief system. If we can change all of this in a willful, effortful, conscious, deliberate manner, we will be able to change our brains, both functionally and structurally. However, to have long lasting changes, just changing our mind is not going to be enough. We need to be able to change our experience. We need to be able to change our actions. We need to be able to change our habits. Then only we will be able to make changes in our lives. This is what is called as rewiring mechanism, and that is nothing but, the whole process is nothing but neuroplasticity, the rewiring of the brain, remolding of the brain is nothing but neuroplasticity. Very important aspect, and especially for lifelong learners. And so I'll just take the next few minutes to conclude in a capsule form. To conclude, I would just say, all you need to do is to be in the now. Easier said than done, right? So I'll make it a little bit easier for you, even more easy, which is, if you know just this is enough. What is it that you need to know? All you need to do is to avoid 2 days in your life. And what are those 2 days? Yesterday and tomorrow. If you just avoid yesterday and tomorrow and make it a practice to be focusing on today, that is going to be enough. But I'm going to go a step further and make it a little bit more easy for you, saying that you don't even need to worry about today. All you need to do is to focus on this moment, here and now, now and here. Avoid 2 days in your life and only focus on this moment. What does that mean? What does that mean to be focusing on this moment? Does it mean we should not think about the past? Of course not. Think about the past to learn from the past, not looking at past with regret. Think about the future to plan for the future, not to think about future with anxiety and pessimism. So all we need to do is to be in the present moment and to be able to know how to manage just this one single moment, just one single moment at a time. If we learn to manage, that is it. That is enough. And how do we manage that present moment? We need to manage in a mindful way. What do I mean by that, in a mindful way? Being mindful, we can go much deeper, giving various definitions, various different ways, which I'm not going to go into that. It's a totally different topic in itself, but I will give you the gist. How do we implement this mindfulness in a very easy manner? If you know just this is enough for today. How do we manage the now? By being mindful, which means let go of all the excuses that we might have. Let go of all the excuses and keep doing the right thing. That is all. Lot of times we focus on doing things right. Yes, it is important. Absolutely, it is important. But if we keep focusing on doing the right thing, doing things right will naturally follow. Doing the right thing is important. And again, to make it even simpler, all you need to do is to remember just these three words. This is the Nike commercial words. Just do it. Whatever that has to be done, don't put it off for tomorrow. Do it now, not even today. Just do whatever that needs to be done. That is what it means to be mindful. Again, the ultimate solution. I'm just going to close with this slide. So, with all of this, what is the ultimate solution? To be lifelong learners, to develop a growth mindset, to build up resilience. What is the ultimate solution? The ultimate solution is within us. We don't have to go look for outside. The ultimate solution is within us, which is nothing but being in the present moment, here and now and here, in a mindful way, doing the right thing each time and every time. Thank you.
So thanks for this wonderful talk, ma'am. You have covered a lot of points regarding self-awareness, interconnectedness, and you have reflected upon the harmony of neuroscience and spirituality for better living. And your talk showed how can we achieve good mental health for not only these pandemic times, but for entire careers of oneself. How we can evolve to be resilient and improve our life in a better way. I guess participants in a scientific manner understood resilience is multidimensional and interconnectedness is the key requirement for strong resiliency. So I thank you, ma'am, and thanks, ma'am, for taking us
Yeah.
time for this. And now the floor is open for questions. You can raise the
Yeah.
hand or you can write in the chat box so that I will take up the questions, or you can raise the hand. I will ask you to unmute.
And if there are questions on the chat, if somebody can read that out, Venkat, if you can read that out, that
I
might
will
be
read,
helpful
ma'am.
rather than me going through the
Yes, I will read.
questions on the chat box.
So there
It
is
looks
a
like there are some
question in
questions.
the chat box already, ma'am. So, ma'am, can you help us how to find our own strength and weakness?
Mm.
Is the question.
When our self-awareness increases, that means if we can be aware of our own negative thoughts, usually the negativity that is innate within all of us is what is going to prevent us to see the reality as it is. If we can see the reality even that is within us as it is, that is when we will be able to know our strength and weakness. And for that, we need to train our mind to be able to recognize the negative thoughts. It's a very simple process, simple but hard, because we need to track our thoughts are really fast, as you know. So whenever we get a thought, at least in the beginning, there is no other way but this way. This is what we call it as metacognition skills. Whenever we get a thought, watch the thought. Either you can witness the thought and it will go away, or else you watch the thought and ask for yourself, is this thought, whatever I'm getting, is this true or not true? Is it false? Because we don't realize thoughts are real, because each thought will release a chemical. That is why we know it is real. And every time we get a thought, there is electrical changes in the brain. So we know it, thoughts are real. Thoughts are real, but they're not always true. Just because the thoughts come within us and they are repeated thoughts many a times, we start believing these thoughts. Instead of believing these thoughts, question the thoughts, whether they are real or not. I might say to myself, oh, I am not good in public speaking. And if that happens again and again, we start believing. And then if we question that thought, how do I know? I have not done public speaking, or I haven't had training in public speaking. Just saying that we know, oh, then it is not a weakness. I'm making it up in my mind. That is one way to recognize the weakness, by questioning the thoughts that we get and answering in a very honest manner. For all of this, deep honesty within ourselves, really no, honesty to the core is what is needed to question our own thoughts and to recognize our own weaknesses and strengths. And we will know.
Thanks, ma'am. Rishabh Kumar, you can unmute your mic and ask the question.
Thank you. Hello, ma'am. Can you listen me? Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Sorry, ma'am, for going out of the topic, but currently I'm facing issues while reading books of Swami Vivekananda, because I am basically 21-year-old and I cannot understand many words or many things which he usually want to speak, because I have only studied engineering. Basically, I have studied only engineering, so I don't know the basic through which he's speaking on that big platform. So, can you please help me by suggesting some of the basic books which I can read so that I can understand Swami Vivekananda's philosophy and whatever he have told us?
If you're having trouble with understanding his philosophy, you're not alone, because Vivekananda has said so many things. Some of it you have to take it in context. So you need somebody to interpret that. Otherwise, it is confusing. He says one thing at one time, he says something else diametrically opposite another time. Both are right, both are true under different circumstances. And especially when he goes at a much deeper level at the non-duality angle. When you look at from the angle of non-duality, lot of things are paradoxical and confusing. So rather than just suggesting books that won't help, I don't get your name, I'm sorry, but try and study Vivekananda's literature with somebody else who knows more than you, who can guide you, who can interpret what he's saying. It is not just about suggesting books.
Okay, ma'am. Thanks.
Sure.
We are going for the next question, ma'am. It is in the chat box. So, ma'am, how does ants make us less empathetic? This is the question, ma'am.
See, when we have a lot of ants, by the way, it's a good question. Nobody had asked me this before, which is a really nice thing. See, when we have these automatic negative thoughts, they don't make any logic at all. They don't make any logic. It is illogical logic. For example, you see a child on a street begging for food, and you can see the child is hungry. And you don't feel that empathy towards that child, that compassion, that kindness, that kind-heartedness. You may not have change to give. You may not have any food to give, but at least at the level of feeling, if you don't feel that, and many a times I've seen this with people, when there is so much negativity, for whatever reason, I'm not making judgments of anybody here, but this is how it works. When somebody is going through tough times in their life, that leads to negativity. And forget about negativity. Even when somebody is stressed out, it is hard for them to be empathetic with others, you know. So more so when they are filled with negativity because of whatever they're going through in life, it is hard to see somebody else and have empathy, because you can give only what you have inside, you know, to others. If you are not kind to yourself, if you're not empathetic to yourself, you cannot show that to others. And when people are stressed out, not just negativity, mind you, even when people are stressed out, they cannot show that kindness to their own loved ones. Forget about others. It is hard. That is where the interpersonal relationships takes a toll, because if somebody isn't having stress for a length of time, if the stress becomes chronic, without their knowledge, they become hard-hearted or not be able to connect with people, because whatever they have, that is what they show outside too.
Thank you, ma'am. So we are going to next question. How to get out of social media addiction?
That's a separate topic in itself. I think there is a talk on the YouTube channel. I'm trying to think the name of the organization they had arranged, wherein I had talked about social media, how to come out of the social media addictions. Maybe if somebody, the Rakal or anybody has that link, they can share, or that we will be able to share that link with you, Venkat, and then you can actually share with the rest of the group. Basically,
Okay.
first to be self-aware and to be using our powers of our conscious mind, which is our discerning power, our discrimination power. In Sanskrit, it is called Viveka or the Vivechana Shakti, and also the willpower. Both of these together is what we need to use to be able to overcome that. But the hardest thing is, why should we come out of social media addiction? Until and that person is convinced, we can give you many different tools and techniques. It is not going to be possible. So in that talk, we again go to the why, because we are born as human beings to evolve. And any type of addiction, be it social media addiction, or it could be tobacco addiction, it could be alcohol addiction, any kind of addiction takes away our discerning power, takes away our willpower over a period of time. And it is, we just lose control of ourselves. In other words, when we are addicted, it is the part of the brain, what we call it as lower center of the brain, takes over. But it is the higher center of the brain which represents, or through which the conscious mind is emanated. That is what we need to be using more and more, our higher center of the brain and our conscious mind. We need to be using more and more to become more and more human, and to be later evolving into better human beings. And all of that get robbed off whenever we are addicted to any kind of substance that is in a capsule. in a nutshell, but we should be able to share that link with you, wherein we go through in greater depth.
Okay, ma'am. Thanks. And we are going to next question. The next question is, why do negative thoughts come easily when compared to positive thoughts?
Yes. This has an evolutionary biological significance, and I'll take you back to our caveman era. See, at that time, the caveman, he needed to remember where there was danger, which path had more predators, or which mountain is too high for him to jump off, to take shortcuts. All of this he needed to remember for his very own survival. These are all things that was developed to protect us, to help us to survive. However, this type of dangers that we have, to remember all these negative aspects in the outside world or within ourselves, we don't have those kinds of real dangers anymore. What had some biological survival mechanism significance earlier does not have that anymore, but that is what is preventing us to be evolving. This is a very similar thing even with our stress situation. When we have stress in our lives, which we do, the stress response that is generated within us is supposed to protect us from real danger, from physical danger. However, the danger today is no predator that is hiding behind the corner or in the next road. It is our day-to-day activities where there is no danger. But the body has not learned, or our mind, we need to train our mind to tell these things, these negative thoughts or the stress response that we get. It is no danger anymore. I need to train my mind to overcome these negative thoughts and the stressful response that I might have, so that it helps me to evolve into better human beings. In terms of evolving in this context, let us take it as utilizing our innate potential to the fullest extent. If we don't, this negativity bias is what prevents us to utilize our inner potential to the fullest extent. There was also a question about stress in exams. So I just saw the question, I combined the two together.
There are similar questions on stress and many other things, ma'am. So I guess if time permits, we'll take 2 questions, 3 questions, or shall we close here?
Maybe 1 or 2 more, and then we can.
Okay, ma'am. So we can take 2. And next question is, does everyone get what they deserve and vice versa?
It's not about what they deserve. You know, every thought has a consequence. Every action has consequence. We know about actions having consequences, right? Even thoughts have consequences. Feelings have consequences. Every thought we get, every feeling we feel has consequences. It's not about deserving or not. If we look at it this way, in a purely scientific manner, whatever we think, whatever we feel, whatever we act upon, we have full freedom to act any which way we want. We have full freedom to think whichever way we want. We have full freedom to feel whichever way we want. But remember, we also need to face the consequences of those actions, of those feelings, and of those thoughts. What type of consequences do we want? That is what will determine what type of thinking we should train ourselves, what type of feeling we need to feel, we need to train ourselves, and what type of habits and actions we need to develop, we need to train ourselves.
Thank you, ma'am. This would be the last question. When people do 41 days Vratam for Swami Ayyappa or Shivanga Sadhana, one completely gives up consumption of alcohol, tobacco. Has modern science taken this into consideration?
The question is not very clear. What
I
is
guess he
modern
is
science
asking.
got to do with our vratas and whatnot? If you're talking about, we don't even need to do research. I will tell you in a general manner, from a scientific perspective, whenever we do vratas, let us say, or certain pujas, when we go in a very highly religious way, it certainly increases our willpower. It will not do anything for our discerning power, our wisdom. It does not do it much, but it helps us to build our willpower, which is very important. But that willpower has to be used for the right reasons. Then we can develop that discerning power or the discriminative power. Then even those religious activities will play a role in developing the wisdom. Otherwise, just mechanically increasing the willpower will not help in the long run if it is not used in the proper channel. Because when we see the terrorists, when we look at people who are terrorists, they have the greatest willpower. And a lot of them are also highly religious people. I'm just talking religion broadly, not in any one particular religion. In any religion that you take, if there are people who have the terrorist mentality, they have lots of willpower. But are they using it in the proper way? And do they have the discerning power? Do they have the wisdom to know that we are all interconnected and interdependent on each other? It is not about taking out one race or one community, because eventually it affects everybody. Just developing willpower is not the end all. However, youngsters have a lot of willpower when compared to the discerning power, whereas elders have a lot of discerning power because of their life experience. We need to remember this. That is why it is always, there is a reason why in a society, a good mingle of people of all ages, people of all different religions and mentalities and behaviors is will be helpful, because that is what is a healthy society. Otherwise, we will be dealing with only a small subset of people who will be thinking exactly like us, and that will put us in echo chambers, and that will lead us into having what we call as confirmation biases. Rather than that, to open up to people, to mingle with people who have different views than what you have, different religious views, different political views, different social views. That is where it is healthy for us to be able to develop the discerning power within ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And I guess we can conclude now, as we took a lot of. And also we thank from Vivekananda Samiti, ma'am. I thank you for kindly accepting our invitation and spending around 2 hours here. So
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for attending.